Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. Good morning. Good Tuesday to you. It's the day after Ground. Well, we survived that Groundhog Day. It was touch and go, but we did it. Well done, you. Here on the third day of February, as we plow our way through 2026 with abandon. Coming up at 6:35, we're going to have a conversation with Maryland delegate Mark Fisher. The Maryland House has okayed the new congressional map, but the Senate's probably going to, call a halt to it. We'll give you an update on the redistricting efforts. 7:05, Nick Minnock, local reporter here at WJLA, making national news again, this time out of Loudoun County with an absolutely insane story involving the death of a student. We'll get into that at 7:35. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Anthony Houston with Graphite One. This is a critical minerals company in Alaska, the only one of its kind, where they're going after these rare earth minerals that we've got in Alaska that we need for all these batteries and all these, demands for rare earth, so we aren't beholden to China. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. You need to be educated and informed on this critical issue. 8:05 brings us the former Attorney General, Jason Miyares. And then at 8:35, we're going to get the latest on the snow cleanup efforts in D.C., where today is maybe Bethany Mandel, the first day where we're going to really see some progress because our temperatures will be above freezing. A positively balmy 38 degrees will be our high today. So let's get it done. Is there an update on the Mandel fortress there in Montgomery County?
So I actually saw some of the snow melting yesterday, even though I didn't feel like it got warm enough. But I saw water abound all over Montgomery County.
Watching the snow melt. That's how exciting things are.
It really was exciting. My weather app says it could get up to 40 degrees today. So you say 39, but my weather app says 40, and I'm going to go with that.
Let's go. I like that. Well, you know what? For the rest of the morning, I'll say close to 40. How's that?
Close to 40.
We might hit 40.
But over the weekend, it's going to go back down to absolutely frigid, 24-degree high and 7-degree low on Saturday. I don't see these snow piles going anywhere anytime soon. No. But I think it was good. So Montgomery County Public Schools are finally reopening here, and they said, it's not perfect, and I was concerned. Looking at the way that they were talking about it, that they were going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Yeah. And they said, listen, the schools are open, they're safe, but there's still no sidewalks in a lot of places. There's still no bus stops in a lot of places, and we're all just going to have to be really, really careful. And so I'm a little nervous about it, honestly.
Are you?
I don't think that the closures were completely unreasonable. And, when I've been driving down major roads, there's people walking along the sides of the roads in the street because there's no sidewalks. And I am nervous about seeing very small people do that. And I don't know if there's going to be an alternative because there's no sidewalks in a lot of places.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. If the kids are walking in the street, that's deeply disconcerting. But I don't know. Again, I hate to do this, the whole when I was a kid thing, but when I was a kid, I didn't mind walking in the snow and on top of the icy snow. And yes, if it was slippery, we would run and slide. And guess what? Sometimes we'd fall and wipe out, and it was funny. And then we would get up and we would go. And I just, that's what kids do.
I think these piles are different, though, because they are 4 or 5 feet high.
The giant berms at the end of every corner.
No, I mean all along the sort of what I'm talking about, like the major roads, like those are 4 or 5 feet high.
Yeah, because they haven't made a priority to make sure that people can walk. They haven't. I don't understand what the priority's been at all, other than to just get one lane through so cars can sort of try to jockey away with that. Well, actually, that's not true. I do know what one other priority is for the local crews around here. Remember yesterday we told you about the speed camera that had been blocked by one of the giant mounds of snow. Boy, they were Johnny on the spot with that one yesterday. They made sure a crew got out there and moved the giant snow berm, the little Mount Everest, the little Matterhorn that had been built right in front of the speed camera. They knocked it over so the speed camera could function. Not like anybody's speeding right now because they can barely get past the snow and ice anyway, but we got to get that snow camera working. So they literally, there's a new picture out there showing the little crew going out there and making sure that the speed camera is clear of the snow and ice mound. But they knocked it back into the street, so the cars can no longer really get by with the same freedom that they had. But they made sure that the snow camera or the speed camera can work. Isn't that amazing?
I loved it.
See, when there's a will, there's a way with these crews.
The problem is here at least, they've pushed the snow onto the sidewalks, and so there are just mountains of snow on the sidewalks, and there's no alternative to. You can't walk on there. It's just not possible.
If that's the case, then, they've prioritized cars, and that means that if the kids need to get to school, they need to get there by car. Otherwise, you know what I mean? It's like, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
So if they've moved all that so that people can't walk on sidewalks, they've done it, to make sure the cars can get through. So now get the kids to school in the cars. I know, easier said than done. It's just again, everything seems to be done without a plan and without a strategy, and by the way, without communications. If you're in Arlington County and you're hoping to get updates on what the school system's doing and what your snow instructions are and when the schools are open, these days, instead of going to a website or going to one phone line where they would have a recording, these platforms or these organizations, these government agencies, they all have a social media account, right? It's a big deal. Yeah. That's how the whole purpose of social media is to get your voice out to as many ears as possible. So if you're looking on Twitter or now X to find out what Arlington Schools is doing, you get a notice from last February. We're moving. Arlington Public Schools is transitioning to Blue Sky as our primary platform for updates. So Arlington Public Schools has disbanded their X Twitter account, and they've moved to this fringe niche left-wing MS Now DNC talking point echo chamber of Blue Sky. And if you want to be updated, you need to go and sign up for that app. That's kind of stupid. Don't you want to be on the biggest, widest platform?
Not if it's owned by Elon Musk, white nationalist Nazi demon.
You know what? It's funny. I didn't even connect it to Musk. I assumed it was just because that's where the timing is perfect. It's like 2 weeks into Doge from last year. That's exactly what it is. You're right.
Yes. No, a lot of these municipalities, and to me, I think that there should have been, and I didn't really understand why there wasn't more pushback from Musk, from Trump, because these are accounts paid for by our tax dollars, and they are there to inform, and they should be informing residents on all of the large platforms. You posting on Blue Sky doesn't prevent you from posting on Twitter.
Right,
or
you
on
can
Facebook.
Add Blue Sky to your social media.
Right, add it, and you'll have the 3 people who see it. But I did a comparison once because I got mad because something in Montgomery County did this as well. And I did a comparison of the audiences and the engagement on Blue Sky and Facebook and X, and it wasn't even close. It was by orders of magnitude larger on X than it was on any other platform. And you shouldn't be allowed as a municipal employee to let your own personal ideological decisions and biases impact how you're communicating with your residents, with the public.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why there wasn't more of a concerted pushback, and it's something that I've wanted to write about actually for a long time.
There you go. You're welcome. I've given you your next great idea for a post, and I'm sure Elon Musk will share it. All right, as frustrating and annoying as things are here, it's not nearly as awful, frustrating, dysfunctional, deadly, and what's the other word? Oh, Marxist, as Zohran Mamdani's Manhattan. We'll tell you what's going on in New York City in a moment. First, though, it's 5:15. The warmth of collectivism. Remember, isn't that what he said during his inauguration speech, that we will now throw off the shackles of the free market and enjoy the warm glow of collectivism? Well, this is what the warm glow of collectivism looks like. It looks like death and dysfunction and anger and despair. Mayor Mamdani yesterday confirmed 16 deaths now during the cold weather blast in New York City, much of this because he He stopped the law that would sweep up the homeless from the streets and put them into shelters, whether they wanted to go or not, out of humanitarian concern. But get this, Bethany, they are handing out free blankets to the homeless. They're red, and in giant letters it says, courtesy of Mayor Mamdani. And these blankets, I kid you not, look like, I'm no doubt they're made in China. By the way, and they look so thin. We're talking about temperatures close to 0 in New York, and when the wind comes off the Hudson, it's even colder. And these blankets will do nothing except, I guess, decorate the frozen corpse the next morning when people come by and see the devastation. It's just absolutely awful.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like the real evil of progressivism that I have never totally understood because. The whole point is to be the voice for the underdog, to the downtrodden. Like these are supposed to be your people, and to give them a thin blanket. I mean, it doesn't matter how thin or warm the blanket is. What they need is some tough love. They need to be told it's time for you to get off the streets because it's not safe for you out here.
That's
and
right.
If you resist, you will be arrested.
You'll go to jail.
You are not allowed to stay out here. It is not safe for you. It is not sanitary for the rest of us. It's not safe for the rest of us. And bring them inside. And also, another thing that frustrates me is this complete denial of the fact that most of the people on the streets are not there because life circumstances, things happen. No, it's mental illness and it's drugs.
That's right.
When you give drugs to some people and take away the drugs from the other people, most of your homeless problem goes away. It's not nice to them to pretend otherwise, and yet they do. In New York and across, liberal municipalities, they have these ridiculous tent cities that are dens of horror.
Right. Yep. It's absolutely, and it's. By the way, you're right. We should have compassion for these people. But when Rudy Giuliani was elected mayor back in the early 90s, he said, we're going to have a public-private partnership. The funds will go from the city of New York. We will work in connection with faith-based organizations that are really good at this because the city is not good at it, but these groups are. And we're going to encounter people who are living on the streets, and they're going to have three choices. They either get off the streets and take care of themselves, or we will take care of them by putting them in one of these shelters where they have to live by certain rules. They have to get clean in every way, clean from drugs and alcohol, but also clean themselves up. They'll get clothes. They'll even learn job skills so they can go to a job interview and actually put their life in order. Their third option, if they don't do either of those two, is they'll go to jail because they're violating the law. And that's what compassion looks like, not just for those people who are living on the streets, but also what about for the rest of us? We deserve compassion, too. We deserve, with the taxes we pay, to walk down the sidewalk and not have it littered with human debris, with piles of junk that people are living in, and the infestation of rats and disease. And the second, and Bloomberg pretty much kept up that policy, the second the Marxists took over, de Blasio and now Mamdani, we've gone right back to it. And now we've got 16 dead, 13 from hypothermia on the streets of Zoran Mamdani's New York. But at least they got a really nice red little flimsy thin blanket that says courtesy of me. I love that they actually went through the added expense to add his name to it. Courtesy. And it looks like a MAGA hat. It's the same color, same lettering. They hate Trump, but they also envy him so much that they wanted their own branded courtesy of Mayor Mamdani on it. Meanwhile, they still have this problem with the streets, with the sidewalks, with the snow, with the ice. This has been an unmitigated snow removal disasters in New York, one of the worst in recent memories. There are pictures that made it look like it was Ed Koch's 1975. It was so bleak and despairing as the garbage piles up. Speaking of piling up garbage, last we checked is that you did not have a trash pickup yet.
I did.
It's been rectified.
After the show yesterday, I was watching my Ring camera the whole show, And I was starting to feel pretty down and pretty despondent because we looked like homeless people ourselves with the amount of garbage that we had piled out outside our house, because there's 8 of us and we have a lot of garbage. That's what I kept telling myself when I was embarrassed comparing my pile of garbage to everyone else. But they did finally pick up our garbage.
Excellent.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they got through the street, because Lord knows it's not wide enough. But I want to rewind for a moment to what you were talking about earlier about, for the rest of us. Oh, but you're telling me to stop.
No, you've got a minute. Go ahead.
I've got a minute? Okay. Here in Montgomery County, I was at the playground, and a man stripped down to his birthday suit in front of my children, who was homeless and mentally ill. And I called the police, and they were like, he showed up and he was like, yeah, this happens.
No, what are you going to do? Yeah.
I don't think it should.
Probably
just,
shouldn't.
This happens is not really the answer.
Yeah.
He exposed himself to my children. I thought that came with consequences.
Well, usually that happens in the locker room to your little girls when a transgender woman comes in to strip. I guess it's not typical that it happens in a park, but welcome to Montgomery County. They're progressive. It's 524.
Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:37. Good morning. A good Tuesday to you. It is the 3rd day of February, and we've got a lot to catch up on in Washington, D.C. With regard to getting around town with the ice and the snow and getting schools open, and also big picture, getting the gridlock solved in Congress, as well as an update on the Epstein discussion, and this one involves the Clintons. We'll get into that in a moment. Also later in the program at 6:35, Maryland Delegate Mark Fisher on the new congressional map for Maryland. 7:05, Nick Minnock, WJLA Channel 7, on an insane story out of Loudoun County. We'll probably spend some time laying out that story before we bring Nick on as well. So you're going to want to hear this. It involves the death of a student and, of course, the Loudoun County School Board. 7:35, Anthony Houston with Graphite One. We're going to talk about this rare earth minerals story. He's in the middle of it, owning this company in Alaska. And then at 8:05, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares, he's formed a brand new political action committee for fair maps in Virginia. That'll be the pushback on redistricting there. That's a lot. Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
I feel like with the slight warmth, I'm feeling more hopeful. Maybe I won't freeze to death.
The ice is beginning to melt around your heart.
Yeah, but then it's just going to refreeze
it is.
over the weekend. So whatever, it's fine.
We were noting yesterday, later in the day, we were having a conversation, and it occurred to us that while MS Now, or is it Ms. Now? I don't want to. Are they going by Ms. now versus Mrs.? I'm not sure. It's really confusing to me.
Is it the disease or is it Miss? Who could really know for sure? I don't know
or
what's
on
the more
Blue
charitable
Sky,
thing.
or on the Good Morning America. Like the Epstein story from this weekend sort of dominated the discussion, but only as it relates to Donald Trump, of course. And President Trump did comment on the Epstein stuff yesterday. We'll play that for you. And, of course, it was one of the jokes that we played for you from Trevor Noah. He made a joke about Trump going to Epstein Island. And it occurred to me, it's like we had our whole 4-hour show yesterday, and the Epstein story, it was there. I had thrown some stuff into our show prep about Bill Gates, which is really if you want to talk about the Epstein release over the last 72 hours, it's all about Bill Gates. That's the dominant story, and how insidiously involved with everything Epstein and Epstein Island and the girls and sexually transmitted diseases and surreptitious drugs administered to his wife to try to protect her from getting the STD lest he be found out, which really makes me feel good about him being in charge of the COVID vaccine. Anyway, but we decided, this really isn't that big a deal. Why? It's not on our radar. I don't think for the most part right of center media is focusing on this. We spent a lot of time on this story. It's been a frustrating one. But right now we're not as obsessed with it as the left suddenly is, because they think they've got Trump. And so, first, that phenomenon right there. It's like, it's not that I don't care about the victims. It's not, but I've been talking about Epstein for, 15 years, I think, when I first saw Ann Coulter writing a column about it. Why is it so dominant on the left right now? Because they think, again, they've got a gotcha moment for Trump?
I think so. And I think it's also just, it's every gossip columnist's dream and I'm on the New York Post website right now, and of the 4 top trending stories, two of the top 4 are about Epstein. So, and there's also, there's Peter is that how do you say his Atia? He's a CBS News contributor, and he's like this anti-aging influencer, I guess you would call him. He's a doctor. So I'm seeing a lot of people talking about the revelations there. There's a lot of royal stuff. We were talking about that yesterday also.
That's true. The Prince Andrew
show.
Stuff, and PM Starmer wants him to testify.
One of my most fascinating tidbits from the Epstein emails is that Sarah Ferguson is nickel and diming asking Jeffrey Epstein to pay for her flights for her and her daughters. And so she's like, the business class flight for the Duchess is $9,000. We can put her daughters, the Beatrice
Lord.
and Eugenie, in coach. They're $4,000. And it's just like, oh, royals, they're people too. They too want other people to pay for their flights.
Even if they're criminal pedophiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But
I saw yesterday that. Well, go ahead, wrap it up there. Sorry.
No. And also just like who he was working for. There's a lot of that intrigue as well. That's international. Was he working for Putin? Like, there's a lot of elements here that make it a very interesting story.
Mossad was protecting him, and he was informing Mossad, and I was struck by the very real issue here, which I have been talking about when everyone says, just release it all, dump it all. You've got, little millions of documents for as far as how extensive this investigation was. And if your name is mentioned there will be an automatic suspicion. So Glenn Beck revealed yesterday. Glenn Beck's name appears in these files. Does anyone believe
a lot of people.
Right. And so like a mention in the Epstein files and even an email. Listen, everyone knows there's no love lost between me and Steve Bannon. And surely Steve Bannon was ingratiating himself with Jeffrey Epstein after his time in the Trump administration, well after we knew that Jeffrey Epstein had already served and already was convicted. I mean, this is leading right up to Jeffrey Epstein's final arrest before he died in that prison cell. And Bannon's going back and forth with him. And yes, it's damning and it makes Bannon look bad. But I don't think I've known Bannon for a long time. Steve Bannon is not a pedophile. But the second your name is in there, that's just what everybody's going to say. And a mention in the files is not a conviction. And that's the problem with just dumping all this stuff out there. Also, the reason why people demand that it get dumped is because there's been so much secrecy and so much cover-up leading up to this that's what the backlash is going to be. Which leads us to Bill and Hillary Clinton. They were subpoenaed to speak before the Oversight Committee on this. They refused to show up, and a vote was scheduled for tomorrow for holding the former president and the former Secretary of State in contempt of Congress. Even Congressman Jamie Raskin, your congressman, Bethany, said this weekend on a Sunday show that he would vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. So yesterday, a last-minute negotiation and settlement on the Clintons' appearance before Congress was reached. We'll give you the details in a moment. It's 5:44. So yes, the Clintons at the last minute reached an agreement with, I'm guessing, James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, with regard to their testimony before that committee. There will not be a vote to hold them in contempt because they were going to be on the wrong side of it. Enough Democrats were flying over to that side. Bill and Hillary are now planning on coming forth. Let me just say I can share. James Walkinshaw, congressman from Virginia, here yesterday shared this. I can share an update. The good news, Mr. Chairman, I think we'll be able to go through door number 1 that I outlined in my opening statement. I understand that the Clintons have agreed to appear for depositions and have agreed to the terms you laid out in your most recent letter. Are you aware of that? James Comer said no. And then Jim McGovern on the Rules Committee said, well, if that's the case, somehow, and then Comer said, somehow the media and the Democrats get the correspondence way before we do. So the Clintons let the media know and the Democrats know that they've agreed, but the actual chairman of the committee, this all came out during the Rules Committee yesterday, which were negotiating the details of the vote to hold them in contempt. So it looks like this has reached some sort of settlement, and they are going to testify behind closed doors. There won't be any cameras or anything, but we will get the testimony released by the House Oversight Committee about what they know with regard to the Epstein documents.
I think it's pretty interesting. I was just joking about this during the break, but I wonder if Hillary is actually secretly excited to just throw Bill under the bus once she's like, well, I'm under oath, got to tell the truth, and you are a pig. My husband is a pig, and let me tell you all about it. But she won't, because she's, Lord knows, she spent my entire life keeping those internal thoughts inside.
And defending the pig. Yeah.
Yeah, like the good feminist that she is.
As long as he can be useful to her, yeah.
Yep. And that was she was going to be our hero that was going to break the glass ceiling. I never understood that from the left. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you defend friendship with him when it became pretty clear who he was. It's really disturbing stuff.
Yeah.
The Epstein.
It truly is, and the people who chose to go out of their way and participate in all of his escapades, and by the Bill Gates, I mentioned Bill Gates. Some of the he of course is claiming none of this is true, but Jeffrey Epstein wrote in his personal diaries and corresponded with a guy called Boris Nikolic, a science advisor. I need a science advisor. Because Epstein was part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he said, during the past few weeks, I've been caught up in several marital disputes between Melinda and Bill. This is in 2013. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. I feel I owe it to my friends and future colleagues to admit a moral failure, to ask forgiveness, and to move on with my life. In other words, Jeffrey Epstein felt like his moral failing was being friends with Bill Gates, not the other way around.
Some of this, so the problem with a lot of these Epstein files is it's hard to know what's true and what's not true, because there's been stuff that has been taken that is not true and pushed around. There's a lot of quotes where he's calling people goyim, which is like a way that you refer to non-Jews that is not particularly kind. Mm-hmm. Those are not real. So I have seen, and I want you to fact check me live on the air. There's no pressure, Larry. I have seen that Bill Gates was trying to slip his wife antibiotics. I think that one also is not true. Is that?
Oh, see, I don't know. I thought that well, not slip her, but he was trying to obtain them with the intent of slipping them to her. That's what I saw. Speaking of conspiracy theories that might or might not be true, there's a fascinating photograph of Jeffrey Epstein and Zohran Mamdani's mother wearing a bathing suit on the beach and holding an infant, Zohran Mamdani, and, of course, the immediate rumors began that Jeffrey Epstein is actually Zohran Mamdani's father.
Well, I think
that's true.
I think there's a fair observation to be made that Mamdani didn't exactly come out of nowhere here.
Well, that's the key. This is really about the circles that these elites travel in.
Yep.
And that the champion of the working man and the guy who just lives in a leaky Queens apartment and became mayor because he just wants free bus fares for everybody has been in elite circles since literally his infancy. Mm-hmm. And it all does seem like it's one big party that all the rich and powerful are having that none of us are allowed to even talk about. And therein lies the anger and demands for everything about Jeffrey Epstein and everyone who knew him. It's 5:54.